The Easter long weekend is notorious for the high number of road fatalities and crashes. The Transport Department has urged people to stay safe and obey the rules of the road with the campaign Live Beyond Easter. Deputy Minister Lisa Mangcu is with us now in studio to talk about this. Deputy Minister, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for coming in. Are people heeding your message this long weekend so far?
Good evening and happy Easter to you and your viewers.
Same to you.
So far, people are heeding our message, although there is some concern, although not alarming, of some figures of crashes that are unconfirmed yet, that the numbers are a bit high. However, if we look at the volumes of traffic and the behavior of people, it would appear people are adhering to the message.
And the problem with South Africa and road safety over long weekends is that much of it has to do with human behavior, right? People either speeding, driving drunk, driving when tired. How difficult is that to police when you consider just the sheer volumes of people who are going from point A to B?
It's very difficult to police. And remember also, safety in any form, including road safety, cannot be just a policing function. It has to be a joint responsibility between me, the user, and the police. But because we must police it, we are doing what we can. Yes, it's difficult to police. The volumes have been high, and a very concerning trend which we saw yesterday was an increase in the average number of people who were overspeeding. As you rightfully said, people are in a hurry to get there. But people did not travel a lot at night. We saw people waking up early today, especially on the N3 towards KZN, which means people are adhering to our advice to travel during broad daylight, where you can see and also take your time.
And is it still the case that the worst periods for road fatalities especially is that period from about midnight into the early hours of the morning? A few years ago, I know that was the problem time that was highlighted by government.
It has not shown to be that again during this time. Hence, I said a lot of people have traveled during the day, so we have not seen that anomaly this time. But as I say, numbers are still coming in, and we are still trying to verify a couple of these figures that are coming through.
What are you hearing so far?
We are hearing that a lot of people are speeding. We are hearing that there have been a couple of head-on collisions, which means people are a bit impatient. And, but the volumes generally are overall lower than last year, between 4,000 and 5,000 vehicles countrywide. So
are there fewer cars on the road?
There are fewer cars on the road comparatively to last year. So the message we are getting is that people would have traveled earlier. We have the advantage of school holidays, which had already started. There could be economic factors because people have less disposable income nowadays than they would have had maybe a couple of years ago. But as I say, that we cannot confirm yet that it has resulted in a reduction in the crashes, which is at the end our main aim.
And the sad reality for South Africa is that we're not necessarily the safest drivers, even outside of holiday periods, right? The behavior perhaps could be argued is amplified because there are more of us heading in the same direction
at the same time
during this 4-day window. But generally, South Africans on the road aren't the safest people. You still see the speeding, you still see the drunken driving. So how do we then take what's implemented over the Easter period or over Christmas and make it a year-long thing where ultimately there's a genuine change in behavior?
It is already a right through the year program where we all, just that as you rightfully say, the focus and the publicity is more during these periods. So, as I say, road safety is everyone's responsibility. We need to make sure that we tighten up. Some of the things, you mentioned the issue of drivers, it's because we have a lot of problems of corruption at the issuing of driving licenses. A lot of corruption at the issuing of roadworthy certificates for vehicles. So these are the things that we are tightening up, and as we tighten them up, we should be producing better drivers. We are also training traffic officers much better so that they are much aware of the work that they are expected to do. This will take time, but we need everybody's assistance and cooperation to adhere to the rules of the road.
And I wonder if that training and the measures you're putting in place, for example, to deal with corruption at licensing level, dealing with people who aren't the safest drivers, the most qualified drivers, who, in fact, in some cases shouldn't even be on the road, is that something that can apply retrospectively, or if our best hope is on future cohorts of new drivers being suitably trained, not being awarded licenses fraudulently?
Of course, we can only look to the future to improve what we have learned in the past. Now, one of our weapons that unfortunately has been stalled through the courts of law has been the administrative adjudication of road traffic offenses, or ARTO, which we have brought in demerit point systems, where people would know that the more offenses that I commit, the higher the chances of me losing my driving license. Those are things that will, in the future, be able to change the behavior. But yes, certainly, it is the future cohort of either drivers and even the traffic officials that we are producing that will bring us better and safer roads on our countries.
Can legislation really be the most effective tool to change behavior, I wonder?
Yes, it can, if only it bites, because legislation is as effective as it can be enforced. Let's take, for instance, the issue of speeding. We know that people are not allowed to speed. But if when you speed your car, and which I hope you don't do, Tembek.
Oh, I don't.
You are able to give a traffic officer what is commonly known as cool drink. And it means you continue to speed with impunity. And this is what we always say, that it takes two to tango. It takes a corrupt official and a corrupt motorist, or a motorist that will corrupt an official to do that. And if people refuse to take bribes, and then they adhere to what they are supposed to do, we will see a changed behavior over time.
But we're a long way off. I mean, I'm sure you recall the story late last year, early this year, where there was massive uproar in Mpumalanga, I think it was, where, I can't even believe that we're expressing this out loud, where there was massive fallout because the driving instructors were going to raise the amount that they wanted for the bribe. I think it was going to go from 1,500 to about 2,000. But that's how endemic it is, that when you do say, I'm starting my driver's license process, the first thing you're told is you're going to have to pay a bribe, even if you know how to drive.
It's a second pandemic, the issue of corruption. I cannot disagree with you on that. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to put in technology to improve the way we are doing things. For instance, the department has rolled out what we call a computerized learner's license, where you don't interact with any human being but a computer to get your learner's license. But it has not been effectively rolled out. Those are some of the things we need to do, because, as you rightfully say, even if you pass your license, there is somebody who expects a bribe because it has been institutionalized. So as government, we are determined to come hard on it, but again, we appeal to people not to get into the temptation of bribing or allowing bribes to be sought from them.
Deputy Minister, thank you so much for coming in. Transport Deputy Minister, Mr. Lisa Mangcu, speaking to us tonight on the second day of the Easter, well, first day officially of the Easter long weekend, but many of you would have started to travel yesterday.